This episode is very special and very dear to my heart as I've been on a journey, a journey to healing. It's been a lifelong journey. It's not been something that's happened overnight. It's not something that's happened in a moment. But I'm putting pieces together tonight in a very eye-opening way. And it has to do with the power of my thinking. The power of what I think. This idea really resonated within my heart. I think it was my junior year of high school. In one of my English classes at Ironwood High School there in Glendale, Arizona. And I remember presenting a project, a board about my life and things that were important to me, things that I felt identified, the path I was on, who I was. And in the center of this board of things about me was a quote by a pastor named Chip Ingram. And he said, "You are the product of your thought life." I think I first heard this either my sophomore year or my junior year of high school. I was listening to one of his messages, and it just hit me. And he went on to say, "More than what you eat, you're not what you eat, you are what you think." And that the quote resonated. You are the product of your thought life. And I'm like, dang, I better get this thing figured out. If I am what I think, how vital it is for me to understand what I am thinking and what I'm putting in, because input does output. Tonight I watched a documentary that was very fascinating and very eye-opening. The power of thinking, the power of belief, the power of thoughts. Documentary called Heal. And a lot of people get confused because when someone mentions something, they think that you endorse everything within it. And it's sad that we have to say this, but we don't always identify with everything just because we quote one person and we quote something. And it's so important to understand solid food is for the mature, who by constant use have trained themselves to discern between good and evil. So there's a discernment that's critical, friends, for us to develop, and it only comes through training. And this is what the author of Hebrews said. You can look at it for yourself, but solid food is for the mature, who by constant use have trained themselves to discern between good and evil. If there's anything on a wane that needs more critical attention in our time of dire urgency, it's developing discernment between good and evil. And it's served me in many ways, especially when I take in something from a whole host of belief systems. I can take truth that someone's borrowed and tailored for their belief system, because general revelation has to do with what's being revealed through creation. God has revealed himself in two ways: through specific revelation, through his written word, but also through general revelation. What he has created is speaking. David expressed this when he declared, "The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. Day after day they pour forth speech. Night after night they display knowledge. There is no voice or language in which their voice is not heard. Their voice goes to the ends of the world." So there are things we can learn from, and I learned so much from science, from just understanding different lenses. And I love this. I've really been really taking in a lot about neuroscience, the power of belief, and just understanding at a whole new level the power of my thoughts, the power of what I think. Great example of this. I was driving tonight to go pick up dinner for Kimberly and I. And it just dawned on me, I don't have to be controlled by circumstantial feeling of emotions, but rather I can take captive my thoughts about those experiences, and I can control how I feel. Thinking is a result, or feeling is a result of thinking. thoughts are the undergirding of how I feel. What I think about, what I believe, in turn produce my feelings. You are not a victim. One of the most prevalent devices to lead to your demise in our land today is it's not your fault that you're a victim. And I break that in Jesus' name. You have choices, what you think about, what you entertain, and the Apostle Paul understood this, and that's why he wrote emphatically to the church in Corinth. A world that was dominated by pluralism, Corinth was a hub of the day of so many thoughts. The Greco-Roman world was one dominated by many philosophies, many beliefs, just like our land today in the 21st century in America and throughout the world. Pluralism is at all-time high. But we have a choice of what we let in. And there's things that I'm letting in that are resulting in the way that I'm feeling, the negative emotions, the things that I'm feeling. And this is freedom, friends, freedom. Freedom is found in taking every thought captive, as God has told us, to the obedience of Christ. There's one Lord, there's one King, and when I take everything captive to Him, my emotions are renewed, I'm refreshed, I'm empowered. God also says clearly through His Word that in all circumstances, give thanks. Thanksgiving and gratitude, if you do any research, especially in our time, the power of gratitude to change our chemistry, to change our biology, to change how we feel is immense. These revelations are so dire and so critical to every day, and I'm being liberated, and I just want to share my journey in this brief video here and say that my journey to healing is rooted in the understanding of how essential my thoughts are and how my thoughts control almost everything, how I feel, how I perceive things, my thoughts. So if we want to change how we feel, we've got to change how we think. And that's what I'm working on. I'm still on a journey. There's things that are still not right, but I received so much life tonight through the truth. The truth is what sets free. And the importance of thinking, right thinking leads to right living, good input, right input leads to right output. Let's be intentional about what we think about. Cultivate an intentional thought life, taking thoughts captive. Bless you, friends.